Ladies and gentlemen, sort of a overwhelming evening for us meaning the Offit family. I'm what you call an old war horse. I've been here before in some respects, but this has to be the most impressive and the most successful evening that I've really been associated with in many, many ways. And a lot has to do with Hillel, the organization. You know, it's the old saw, you're not honoring me, you're honoring the organization, which is all very, very true, and you realize that people give to any organization for two reasons: the substance or the validation of the organization, or the individual, him or herself. In this case, I hope it's both. But the point is that Hillel has extraordinary substance and validates itself every day. Now, Bill Ackman, who I love, we don't know each other very well, but I'll make a few comments about Bill in a few minutes. But the point I want to make is we all have our own awakenings. I'm not going to begin with circumcision, don't worry. I'm not going back that far. I am 74. The point is that I think my awakening, and that's what I'll call it, and I won't call it epiphany, I'll just call it an awakening, has to do with three different encounters. Starting about 10 years ago when I was the president of UJA Federation, and my cohort, of course, was John Ruskay. John, where are you sitting? There's John. John was my cohort, and the point is that we're all under the tutelage of John Ruskay. We're learning every day because, as in my opinion, or Susie's opinion, and many others, he is just one of these noble servants for the Jewish community. And I didn't realize, but UJA Federations, the Federation system, as Kathy Manning would tell you, is a tremendous partner for Hillel. And New York Federation itself is, I would say, by far probably the largest supporter, just because of size, no other reason. And it kind of grants on two levels. It makes its grants on the basis of national Hillel, and it makes its grants on the basis of 12 local Hillels, as I understand it. So you have these two channels, in effect, supporting Hillel by the UJA Federation. Now, I can tell you, as somebody who is deep in the councils of UJA Federation, that there is extraordinary due diligence, extraordinary homework done by that whole committee system at UJA Federation under Elisa Kirshan. And it's that kind of homework that you want to know, because many of you are, probably everyone here is a contributor to UJA Federation. But the point is that Hillel passes muster every year with flying colors. There's just no more, you know, and I say serving grant, the grant that's made to Hillel, that's more important to UJA Federation than that grant to Hillel. So basically I, applaud you, Wayne, your whole organization, from the standpoint and deserving that kind of recognition by the Federation system. Now, that was my first encounter. My second encounter had to do with a very dear friend, and that friend is sitting in the back there. His name is Dan Burek. Dan, you're probably blushing, but the reason I bring this up is because, as many of you know Dan, he is a very passionate guy. And when he starts talking to you about the problems on the campus, the problems having to do with anti-Semitism now, anti-Israel expressions, there's a whole new wave of this that's sort of becoming embedded around the campuses. And it's not just due to the Arab students. It has a lot to do with very leftish faculty members. And it is very, very uncomfortable. And Hillel has been playing a primary role in giving these wonderful Jewish students an awful lot of ammunition and, in effect, arguments to defend and to be proactive in making sure that your colleagues on campus of any religion, any ethnicity, really understand what being Jewish is all about and the centrality of Israel to the Jewish religion. Dan has this passion. He bombards you with facts. He bombards you with logic. His persuasiveness cannot be denied. And Dan is a dear friend who I enormously admire, and I listened to Dan, so that was my second encounter. My third had to do with my observation about Edgar Bronfman. And Edgar is my kind of guy. Now, what do I mean by that? I like people who get their hands dirty, who are in the fray, who put themselves at risk and can fail at anything that they're doing. Now, Edgar Bronfman's not going to fail at too many things, that we understand. But the point is that Edgar Bronfman is a worker bee. I'm a worker bee. So I just psychologically have this kind of wavelength with Edgar. And he is one of my heroes. As a matter of fact, he'd be my #1 hero. Do you know that Edgar Bronfman has visited over 100 campuses in this country? I mean, that's extraordinary. I don't know anybody else who could do that. There was a young man by the name of Daniel J. Dell, and he happened to be the grandson of a very good friend of mine who passed away a few years ago, and I promised a grandfather that I'd sort of keep an eye out for this young man. And Danny is a graduating senior from NYU. Excuse me, I should be speaking in the past tense because that was last week in graduation. And Danny J. Dell said to me, Edgar, he said, I had lunch last week with Edgar Bronfman. So I said, wait a minute, Tim, let me listen to this. He had lunch with Edgar Bronfman. Well, the point is that there are zillions of these kids around the country who have or are having lunch with Edgar Bronfman. Now, there's a genius in this, and this is what I appreciate. Let me explain to you what I mean by the genius. The genius is, and I'm putting myself in your position, Edgar, that you learn more from students than what, in effect, you can teach them. And I think every week you're bringing young people into your offices or home for the purpose of interacting with them. I mean, that is absolutely beautiful, marvelous. I wish that I as well could, in effect, replicate that in some way. But there is a genius in what you learn from the students sitting around these tables this evening. So, Edgar, you are my role model, as you are for many, many people. You're the person who has given me that inspiration to really be involved in Hillel. So I say again, thank you to you. But before closing, I do want to just a few thank yous. Rabbi Cosgrove, only been senior rabbi at Park Avenue for some 3 years now, as Jeff Colvin, who chaired the search committee. And again, that was particular genius in bringing Rabbi Cosgrove from Chicago to New York. But the rabbi in just these 3 years has just made a transformational impact on not only Park Avenue, but of course the New York community. And everybody is saying the same thing about you, Rabbi. So a delayed welcome to you, but my God, what we all have to look forward to. So thank you for being here this evening. My friend Lenny Feinstein, ladies and gentlemen, he co-founded Bed Bath & Beyond. I mean, what more do I have to tell you? One of the great retail chains, establishments in the world. There's nobody finer. And Susie. Just a wonderful, wonderful couple. dear friends, tremendous Jewish instincts, just lovely people, and thank you, Lenny, for being with us this evening. A word about Bill Ackman. Bill proves my point that only certain people should have money. Now, what do I mean by that? Bill has been an enormous financial success. That's one part of the equation. So we say God bless him. There are other people who have been enormous financial successes. So it's not really that distinctive. But the point is, Bill, you know what to do with money. You're the kind of person that, in fact, should be successful because, my dear friend, you have that wonderful philanthropic impulse. Just instinctively, you know what to do. And just keep on really accumulating riches on behalf of the community because you know how to give it away. You know how to share. We all thank you for everything that you do for the Jewish community. Just a word about the Hillel organization. The Hillel organization, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely thriving. It's pulsating. You know, there's an energy level here that is so infectious. You attribute, of course, to the leadership, Wayne, the team that he's put together. So you have to deserve this kind of financial support. You just can't really ask people for money without proving your bona fides as, in effect, a Jewish organization, because there are many in the community. So what you have done is really accomplish something that is quite remarkable in really identifying Hillel. And the point about Hillel, it's never had a case statement more meaningful than it is today. It's right there, to tell you the truth, and crossing all generations. As Wayne said, you're not only administering to the students, but the parents, the grandparents, and all of a sudden Hillel is starting to permeate or kind of penetrate other spheres you never would have thought that Hillel would really be involved in. So that's one part of it. And then there's this wonderful lay leadership. And that's the companion that you have, the partnership between the professional side and the lay side. And I was at the trustee meeting this afternoon, all wonderful people from around the country. So I congratulate the lay leadership, the professional leadership, something very, very special. May I just say in closing as well, a word to my family. Lenny said it best about Nancy. She puts up with an awful lot. You know, never quite know where I am certain evenings because I could be at some Jewish organization's dinner. But the point is, she is some partner, has the same impulses as I do in wanting to serve the Jewish community. Been an extraordinary, of course, mate and mother, and that brings up Ned and Amanda and Danny and Steph. And Danny couldn't be here because he's working on Offit Capital's behalf in China this evening. But what these guys do, Ned and Danny do for me, is in running Offit Capital Advisors so well, they give me a little time so I can spend it with you or something else in the community. So I say thank you to Ned and Amanda. Wonderful to see you this evening. And really in closing, my last comment is to thank everyone here for being here, because you could be home, and I would say you're a lot better being here, and let me tell you why. For two reasons. Number one, I must confess to you I have a sickness. My sickness is that I love going to Jewish dinners. Now, I want to explain that. I want to tell you why. It's for two reasons. Nancy has heard this, and it doesn't go down well. But my two reasons is, number one, you'll learn something that you didn't know. And you have all these magnificent organizations in the community, and you'll walk away and say, geez, I never thought about that. So you'll learn a little something you didn't know, and you'll meet some people you never knew. So you've accomplished two things that evening, much better than staying at home someplace. So you want that stimulation, and here you are this evening. But I do say thank you from the standpoint of not only being here, but giving your marvelous, marvelous financial support to Hillel. And really thank you all for this glorious evening from our family. Thank you.